Now to update on the political drama in Rivers State, the state governor, Simialai Fubara, has declared himself as the winner of the crisis rocking the state. He says those behind the crisis wanted him out of office, and since he's still in charge, he is the winner. The governor and the team of Nyesom Wike, the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, have been engaged in a protracted conflict. As a result, the State House of Assembly became polarized, with Wike supporting legislators issuing an impeachment notice against the governor. Now, while speaking at the crossover church service at St. Paul's Archdeaconry Parish in Opobo Town in Opobo Nkoro local government area, the governor says he won the battle since he remains the governor. And now to discuss this, we're joined by human rights lawyer Ekine Henry. Thank you so much, Henry, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Now, Henry, how would the subsiding political turbulence, including the reported resignation of the Speaker, Honorable Ehie, the uncertainty surrounding the decampees to APC, and of course the absence of the INEC-led elections, how would all of this impact the stability and the effectiveness of governance in Rivers State?
Well, it's not clear whether there is any indication that these issues are actually subsiding. Yes, some aspects appear to be so, but not completely. But one would have desired that indeed we really get a complete, comprehensive cessation of all of these skirmishes and crises in Rivers State, so that we have smooth governance and administration of the state affairs, to be able to advance the very essence of government, which is continuous enhancement of the welfare of citizens and protection of lives and property. But like I said, it doesn't seem clear that these issues are anywhere near, say, conclusion or settlement in any way, because there are still matters in court both ways, and there are even new litigations. The new suits are being filed. This time, not by the disputants, not by either party on both sides, but by probably citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria resident in Rivers State on public interest concerns. So, arguably, while some of those actions are on, one would be afraid to say if there is any indication that they are subsiding. However, the governor's comment or claiming some victory in Opobo town appears also to be one that could probably incite the other sides of the divide. To say that Mr. Governor is claiming victory at this very stage, where we're not sure if all the matters have been resolved. But I think he made a statement of confidence, and then drawing from the fact that, according to him, that is still in power, is still the governor of Rivers State, is still signing the documents with the red pen. And so his victory is sure. And then that the others have been defeated. But I haven't quite seen comprehensive or complete absolute victory yet, or any defeat yet at the moment. The resignation of Edison Ehie, Right Honorable Edison Ehie, as a member of the Rivers State House of Assembly, of course, clearly creates an opening in that regard to those who are from his constituency, that is the Ahoda East State Constituency 2. It does mean that it do not have a representative at the moment. And of course, remember that Edison Ehie wasn't one of those who defected. So the constitutional and legal issue as to the vacant positions or seats of those who defected never affected the Ahoda East Constituency 2. So it meant that at all times he was a member. So, but this resignation as a member of the House has created that vacuum, that opening in that constituency. So it affects the constituents there, but not one that cannot be refilled. So INEC will have to conduct election to fill that vacant seat for Ahoda East Constituency 2. Then again, resigning as the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, that's the controversial part of it. Recall that there has been this context between Right Honorable Martin Amehule claiming to be the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Of course, he was before the defection. And for me, holding the constitutional view that pursuant to Section 109, subsection 1, paragraph G, that the 27 members, including Right Honorable Martin Amehude, cease to be members of the House, so he ceased to be the Speaker. But Ekine here, having resigned also as the Speaker, has also created another opening there. But we got a report yesterday that he's been appointed the Chief of Staff to the Governor of Rivers State. I congratulate him. That's for me, again, reflecting on the purported 8-point resolution, which I christened the Abuja imposition, because I'm also not accepting that resolution, that purported resolution, for reason that much of those clauses contravene provisions of the Constitution. And to the extent that they are inconsistent with the Constitution, they are void. And so it makes the entire document void, not voidable, but absolutely void. So the appointment of Ekine here means that there is never going to be a return of the former Chief of Staff who also resigned his office, even if that wasn't one of the offices that the governor was asked to reinstate. But that again also closes that door. So a lot of these issues for me are not quite clear to have been resolved. So okay. There's no subsiding really, as you probably would think.
All right, let's take a look at Governor Fubara's statement. What would you say are the legal ramifications of the statements regarding winning over the detractors and pursuing political negotiations? Are there any legal boundaries or protocols that must be observed to ensure the integrity of a state's political process and governance?
Of course, I've said that we do not have any doubt with the provisions of the Constitution. The only defining foundation of what regulates political positions and govern occupiers, that is political office holders, with respect to their actions is the Constitution. And we practice a constitutional democracy. Our society is one that is governed by the rule of law. So Section 1, subsection 1 of the Constitution makes the Constitution supreme, and the provisions of that Constitution binding on all persons and authorities. So it means that the governor of Rivers State, similarly Fubara, the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, including all the legislators, are bound by the provisions of that Constitution. So the legal regulator, really, if you ask, is the Constitution that regulates the extent of power, whether one is victorious and the other has been defeated, is the Constitution. And again, beyond that, you will find that who has the legitimate power, really, having been elected and given the mandate to represent Rivers State, is the governor. There may be personal issues and probably extraneous agreements or understanding that would not have any place in law that may have been reached between the governor and his political godfather. But I maintain that those are outside of the provisions of the Constitution, because the Constitution does not recognize any constitutional role to be played by a predecessor, that's a former governor, whether immediate or in the remote past, to play any role with respect to the constitutional functions of a governor who is probably still occupying that position. Then you look at it holistically, you'll be worried. While all of these are governed by the provisions of the Constitution, and then they have sworn to oath pursuant to the 7th schedule of the Constitution, which is in respect to the oath of allegiance and oath of office by the president, the governor, the minister, and all legislators, and every person who holds political or elective appointment or position, sworn to that oath to uphold the provisions of the Constitution, and then to also protect that Constitution. So it places fundamental responsibility on all of these persons to be bound by the provisions of the Constitution. So if you ask what's legal probably solution, the solutions are extant in the Constitution. That those who have been vested with the power to govern the state should be allowed to govern the state. If the minister is vested with the power to govern affairs pursuant to the directives of Mr. President with respect to the Federal Capital Territory, it should be so that we should have peace in Rivers State. And then that's been our position. And I think that's the position of majority of Rivers indigents and residents in Rivers State. And all persons who are interested in maintaining the supreme position of our Constitution and protecting our Constitution. whether you're in River State or outside River State. That's why the voice appears to be common across the country, that indeed we must allow the rule of law to prevail. And what is the rule of law? It's the predominance of the law, the supremacy of the law, as distinguished from arbitrariness and alternatives that have no place in our constitution, in our law. So including the purported 8-point resolution, even if it was an intervention by Mr. President, but then Mr. President was guided by the provisions of the Constitution.
All
so
right.
if he had to mediate, he had to guide himself when it came to the issues that to the provisions of the Constitution.
Henry, let's take a look now at how all of this will affect the populace. Of course, it is the government of the people. Considering these recent events and the ongoing political negotiations, how do you think that these developments will influence the trust and the confidence of the populace in the government's ability to govern effectively and transparently, especially looking at the drama that we experienced late last year? What measures can be taken to maintain or restore, as the case may be, the public trust in the governance of River State?
There is no doubt that these avoidable and unnecessary skirmishes and then crisis, which began from the River State House of Assembly, that is the legislature, which of course is the foundation of democracy, and then creeping into the executive, the governor, and then the implementation of government policies and programs. There's been serious negative effects on the people, and even imminent effects, no doubt, negatively on the people and governance and welfare of citizens. The governor would have been distracted from real focus on governance. That's obvious. And then also threat to security and peace. There has been this palpable fear, imminent fear amongst residents in River State. There have been moments of uncertainty. And then, of course, businesses and even those who would have come into River State had to advise themselves to probably put a pause on their proposed visits to River State. So all of these had effect. And then when you look at it generally, the trust issue is such that Rivers, I would say one thing that is very clear, and it's been demonstrated by indigenous of River State and residents here. I'm not sure that there is any doubt as to the ability of the governor to govern the state. Let us rather have to hold him accountable and responsible to his failures. And I think that's one of the issues really are advocating. Now let's have it clear that the governor is responsible to all of his actions and decisions and policies and programs. So if he fails the people, then the people will hold him responsible and accountable, rather than hold a person that may have an excuse to say, oh, I was actually under the influence and undue control of some external person. So, but Rivers indigents and residents, I'm not sure, are in doubt about the ability of the governor to rule. But we want to see if he's going to actually govern us to our satisfaction or otherwise. But again, really, it's raised some doubt also about the governor's firmness, if you like, or resolute position with respect to the aspirations of the people. The people have felt somewhat at some point with some of the decisions of the governor as being betrayed.
Okay.
The people of River State have actually felt that the direction that the governor had proclaimed he was going to take never really satisfied the aspirations and the expectations of the people of their governor.
Okay,
they
Henry,
gave him the mandate, and government derives power from the people. Sovereignty actually lies in the people.
All right. Thank you so much, Ekine Henry, a human rights lawyer. Thank you for joining us to discuss the political situation in River State, and we're looking forward to seeing how it unfolds in 2024. Thanks once again.
Thank you very much for having me.